2025, what a year.
I look like too nerdy with it.
Yes, we started back in January at the Motorsport show. A little bit disappointing, to be fair, compared to last year. Definitely less exhibitors. We noticed that on the setup day, really. There was less going on, it was less quiet, which is not a good place for the show to be. But hey, it is what it is. I think we had a good week and students had a great exposure again, as previous to the setup, the pack down, the planning, the operational, on the logistics side of putting an event like that on.
Setup went well, went smoothly, but we were setting up one of the largest stands at Motorsport. And we had this whole trussing system so we could hang banners above. It goes up kind of like scaffolding, but not really. There's a certain way of doing it.
Very fun setting up, getting everything organised. First time I ever set up a stand like that with trussing to that extent. But it's nice to have a professional showcase of what Harper's about, what the rally team's about, and then go around networking, talking to people and trying to get some students in through the door.
It's very nice to be at Autosport. I did 2 days of the actual event. It was nice to meet new people, especially younger people at school. There was a lot of schools there, so there was, and getting them, showing them around the car and showing them that uni isn't just all lectures and coursework, so it was nice to do that.
Made a lot of new contacts, met quite a few people in industry because at that time I was looking for placement opportunities. Got some email addresses, did a lot of networking. I had quite a few people that come along looking to go to university, wanting to get into a rally and motorsport industry, come up and show their interest.
And I think it exposed a lot of them to the challenges of that, which again is something you don't see as a student, and they all got a really good opportunity to speak to members of the public about the programme and the university. So again, that was positive. But yeah, it's just a bit of a shame to see the Autosport show dwindle into something that's a shadow really, or not even of its former self.
Just after Autosport, we had the shell prepped, you know, corners on. It was basically ready to go apart from the engine. And that was the beginning of a long few months really.
We had what felt like a very busy February where we had to rebuild the engine. So we'd planned that bit in, but when we stripped the engine, there was a little bit more work than we'd planned inside. So we had to wait for some parts to come from Motorsport Poland, and then built the engine just in time to get to the East Riding stages, which is the first round of British Championship, which we were going to contest. And I think, was it the Tuesday night, we had everything sorted and the engine was nearly running. Well, it must have been the Wednesday, I think. So we were again up against it. The engine was running okay with me, and I took Sean with me, and we'd got 130 k's into the 150k running, and started hearing this ever so slight kind of rattle which went along with engine speed. And I think once we both clocked on and heard it, we knew exactly what it was. We pulled the car over, and yeah, sure enough, then revved the engine a couple of times, and it was pretty clear that it was some rod knock. So we killed the car straight away, towed it back.
Unfortunately, spun a bearing. We think was due to the oil diverter valve on the stock EcoBoosts actuating when it shouldn't have. So causing cylinder 3 to starve at the big end.
Stripped the bottom end of the engine and found, yeah, rod 3 had spun a bearing and gone loose. So we thought, okay, we'll replace it, we'll get going again.
Rebuilt the bottom end in the car.
Replaced that bearing, retorqued the conrod, we were happy with the gaps, it was clean, there didn't seem to be any other issues.
And then we went to run the car in again with this new bearing in it.
Went out to finish the run in, I think it was like, yeah, 20 k's left to do. Ran the engine in, and then
I went out with Charlie to go and shake it down and do some road miles. We heard a knocking, and before we could even react,
It failed catastrophically. Windowed the block.
the car had thrown rod 3 out the side of the block. Well, the rod out the front and bits of crankshaft out the back. So that put an end to our hopes of going to East Riding.
So we were completely out of the running for our first WRC ride.
we then had a bit of a job on. That was the Friday night before East Riding, which obviously removed that rally from our calendar quite quickly. Again, frustrating that it's so late because we'd paid for everything, weren't getting refunds for accommodation. The organisers very kindly gave us some of a refund on our entry fee. And yeah, a bit frustrating for the team, everyone, especially first round of the year. But I think, you know, there's lessons learned in rushing stuff there.
But it is the first in a long series of events of engine troubles of the year. Especially for myself personally, it was the start of a troubled year for rallying.
So we thought, make the most of the situation. We've got the accommodation booked. We can't refund it. Hills Ford very kind enough let us borrow a brand new Ranger. We arrived, it was quite late at night when we arrived, and there seemed to be a wedding going on when we arrived at this hotel. Sadly, they refused our offer to join in the festivities, but alas. So got out, watched a few stages, got some footage in. It was great to be a spectator for the first time in a very long time on a rally.
Nice to watch some stages, especially for Tom, because it was a close rally to him back home.
To have the crack really, just have fun as a group of mates going to go watch some cars.
So yeah, that was that. But then not only did we miss that event, we were then again up against it to put a good engine together for what was 2 weeks' time for the Malcolm Wilson.
Malcolm Wilson, oh, that was an interesting event.
The Malcolm Wilson stages, which was the first time for a lot of us that we'd ran somebody in the car that wasn't Charlie. And it was none other than Rich Milner, who I'm sure most of you know is Team Principal here at M-Sport for the WRC programme.
Co-driven by Seb Scott, an ex-M-Sport employee. Him and Rich got a great friendship. It was really nice to run the car for them.
Very daunting task, quite intimidating, just having to run someone of that calibre. But fair play, Rich made us feel very comfortable, and it was very reassuring that we'd do a good job.
So I went to the Malcolm Wilson while on my placement at M-Sport, so we were in Cumbria anyway. And so I went and I just sort of watched the group service on the car and just sort of watch over, just, you know, stand around, check everything's being done right. You know, I'm just sort of watching over. It's quite nice to, you know, stand back at, watch and be a spectator for a bit. The lads there did a really good job. I think Rich Milner, who was driving the car, he was really, really happy with the lads. I know especially the number one and the engineer, I think they were very happy with. I think they showed off their professionalism, and I think that's progressed them to where they are now.
We did pretty good, we worked really well as a team.
And thankfully we did. Managed to push him on to a class win. I had a great rally, had a great result, and then went to Frank's afterwards, which is a bit of an institution here at M-Sport, for a few pints, and then down to Cockermouth for a few more.
A very, very good lift of spirits after the unfortunate events before East Riding, which I think the team definitely needed that as a bit of a morale pick-up.
So after the Malcolm Wilson came back and we loaded the car back onto its 99 map. So the Malcolm Wilson stages, we were running 102 octane Dev 2, and then for the BRC, we still have to run 99.
Testing at the Phil Price Rally School, which for myself, I'd just taken over from James as rally engineer. That was my first hands-on experience, solo with the laptop doing the engineering, it was great fun. Don't get me wrong, Charlie was still there to look over my shoulder and give me a bit of guidance.
Very dry and very dusty. It seems to be two extremes of that place. It's either very wet and horrible, like mucky, or it's dry and humid and the sand gets everywhere. And I think the lower octane fuel causes some issues, which became rather apparent.
We had some issues with the type of fuel that we were forced to run in the British Championship, and some components on the engine that weren't necessarily compatible with that fuel. So we'd previously ran the 102 octane fuel in the car, and then for this year in the British Championship we had to run 98 octane fuel.
But the test issues became very apparent in the afternoon. Still managed to do some valuable testing, thankfully, but it meant we had to retire a little bit early.
Then it was on to the Carlisle stages, which was going to be my first event as engineer.
And we had the Carlisle stages in early April, which was a replacement for Rally Nuts, which was cancelled. So it was second round of the British Championship. Me and Adam went into that feeling pretty confident, I think.
It was very good. It was the first event where Izzy was starting to take over from me with logistics. So that was nice, trying to hand that across to someone else.
The car was okay on the road, and then within a couple hundred metres off the start of the first stage.
I had a good start in the morning. I was all right on the Saturday. And then I get a phone call from Adam, and it was not what I wanted to hear. We had more engine troubles, and this time it was spark plugs basically exploded inside the engine and sent the porcelain everywhere, and dud spark plugs, we were done for. And it was a sucker punch after a second sucker punch after another sucker punch. It
was another bit of a low point for the team. We were all a bit gutted about that.
It took out the head as well. Now the problem with that is, when it took out the head, it took the valve seats out, and also managed to do it managed to crack the head. The head's are specially ported and machined, so I then had to go and try and find a stock EcoBoost head. I found the drawings that M Sport had given in the build book, and then I found a small machinist company just outside of Shrewsbury, and there was a lot of running about, but managed to get them. Thankfully they came to our rescue, and now she's got a brand new head. I think this is the first new head it's had since it was new in 2016. So to have 8 or so years, it's pretty good going, to be fair.
And that was engine rebuild number 3 of the year, which again was gutting for the team. It was even worse. You know, we were at the rally. You know, we'd started the event, didn't even get to put a time down, didn't even get to state where we were, which was super frustrating. But that's what rallying is about, is getting over these hurdles and coming back stronger, I think. So I think it really aligned quite a lot of the team.
Other than the fact that the engine failed, it was the first rally I ever went to, and I got to actually go and watch parts of it, which was good, but also obviously was really disappointing.
I think the biggest moment that tested us was, it's kind of twofold actually. I think when the engine resigned at the Carlisle stages, I think that at that point was already an issue that was long in the tooth for everyone. Or not, it wasn't, it was a different issue really, but the engine as a whole was a bit long in the tooth. And it was in the Easter holidays, so I think a lot of the students went home. You know, we washed the car down and pulled the engine out, and then everyone went home while we kind of gathered parts and gathered thoughts, and that probably was quite difficult, I think, for everyone to sort of process what had happened separately. You know, we didn't have any time in the workshop after to go, you know, oh, this has happened, you know, this is why, we'll go through it like this, and etc. And then, we made a plan to rebuild, but it was quite a separated processing, I guess, of those emotions. I think that was quite difficult for everyone. In between the Carlisle stages and the Jim Clark, which was the next round 3 of the British Championship, back on tarmac, I went and got married, went away on my honeymoon. So there was, I think, 5 of the students rebuilding the engine whilst I was away.
Charlie then graciously abandoned us on his honeymoon, where he had a great time, thankfully. But no, he left it in safe hands, I think. We basically had the task now of rebuilding this engine. So all the machinist work that I tried to organise happened whilst Charlie was not around, and I couldn't really text him because I didn't want to bother him whilst he was on his honeymoon. So managed to get the head sorted. Unfortunately, a certain courier company made stuff extremely difficult for no need in terms of getting stuff from M Sport Poland. M Sport Poland were fantastic, really great at supporting us and with technical knowledge and advice. But just getting stuff from Poland to the UK just proved difficult, unfortunately. A lot of complicated technical reasons. All I wanted was my pistons, so I can put the thing together, but no.
Then we came back, that was the Monday, I think it was the Monday before the Jim Clark, with the engine still not finished. Finished the engine that night, I think, and dressed it to go in the car on the Tuesday. And then again, we needed to be up the road on the Wednesday night for recce on the Thursday. So it was a very tight schedule. Getting, again, Wednesday morning, we were running the engine in. And rather frustratingly, that one didn't last very long either because of a third separate issue.
And the second event I went to would have been the Jim Clark. up in the Borders, which is going to be a nice event. It falls on the weekend of my birthday every year. It's nice to get to go to the pub afterwards, celebrate a bit. But we had a similar issue where we had engine troubles again. We destroyed another engine, so that was annoying.
We had some bearing knock even quicker on. So yeah, that didn't last. Luckily we were early enough to get a refund on our entry fee, but not on the accommodation, so it was quite a frustrating week. You know, and that point we're at the end of May with 3 rounds of the British Championship and no points scored, and students hadn't really got that much event experience. You know, we certainly hadn't actually done a service competitively other than on the Malcolm Wilson. So yeah, it was I think, yeah, the first half this year was tough. After Jim Clark was maybe a bit easier because again everyone was here, and also that issue was arguably our fault, whereas the knocking issue wasn't necessarily something that we had awareness of or, you know, were able to control at that stage. So it's a big learning for us in the engineering department, but yeah, at the time it felt like we'd been robbed, I think. So yeah, so that's probably the hardest part. And how we got over it, I don't know if there's anything specific we did, but it was just the resilience of the guys on the team, really, to be able to just get on and understand that results aren't driven by what went wrong, they're driven by how you bounce back from them and how you work to get yourself back there.
Well, we'll go to the Staffordshire Motor Show. It was the inaugural show, so it was first. Really great to see a local show starting when so many of them are now closing down because they can't get foot traffic. So it's really nice to see a show, especially so close to Harper, open and start for the first time. And it was also nice just to engage with the local community.
It wasn't as big as Autosport, which meant that you could get around everything in a day and you could have a good look at everything. They had the live demonstration of like the autograss cars and those American V8 buggy things, which was quite good because we were on stand and we could just watch it from over the tape. It was nice to show the university and the team at a local event.
So after the Staffordshire Motor Show, it was time for Martin and I to start here at Tumby Hall with M Sport. Incredibly daunting because it's like working here, something I kind of idolised personally. I kind of saw as like the goal, and to be doing it starting at 22 was a personal achievement for me. I do remember my first day here before coming in, I felt so ill. I genuinely thought I was going to be sick. I was so anxious. But to be fair, everyone here has made us feel so welcome and been really good. So those feelings kind of diminished really quickly.
It was nice to learn a lot of new things and have a lot of new experiences with, especially coming from more agricultural backgrounds. I'm doing agricultural engineering and somehow I've managed to land a placement at M Sport, which I must say is part of my time and experiences with rallying the right way. That has greatly helped me get to where I am. I must say I am absolutely loving every day. It is really good fun. I'd love to tell you more about it, but unfortunately I can't disclose too much.
So it was quite nice to be invited to the Apollo Insurance Corporate Day back in July. It was brilliant for me to get a bit more seat time on gravel and also doing stuff. And it'll, going forward, I think it'll be something we can incorporate in our offering for partners as well, to run corporate days and entertain them and do some team building around the team. And then, yeah, possibly integrate a wheel change challenge and then test their skills on a high-speed run. Basically just to run passenger rides around high speed around Walters Arena, meet some of these people and make them smile, really. I think that was great to just have the car out there.